Welcome to our Devos, where we are talking about using anger in a way that glorifies God and gives you the opportunity to grow in areas that God is putting on your heart. Today, we're going to examine that important moment when you have anger as a result of something that someone has said or done. This is typically what we think of when we think of anger, isn't it? We think of something that somebody said to us that hurt our feelings or kind of caught us off guard. We think of something that somebody has done that either is something done wrong to us or something that they're doing that is wrong that we find it being wrong. And therefore, we become angry as a result of that. What do we do with this? Well, this is the moment where I'm going to issue the challenge with a very, very, very strong caveat to that challenge. This might be a time for you to have the conversation. You might call this a confrontation. You might call it a direct talk. But this might be a moment for you to extend yourself in a way where you don't take that anger and just bottle it up and keep holding on to it, but instead where you take a moment and actually have a conversation in love with that person. When I say in love, I mean in love, in a spirit of kindness, in a spirit of meekness, out of regard for that person or for the restoration of the relationship. That's the caveat. Why? Because so many of you are like, I confront people all the time out of love. You confront people all the time out of love because of your love of confrontation. It has nothing to do with your love for them. Let's just get that on the table right now. It has everything to do with your love of the drama or the confrontation. It has everything to do with your love of the fact that you genuinely want people to have a reaction to what you're doing, and it has nothing to do with their betterment. If you look at godly confrontation as outlined in the New Testament, you're going to see that the heart of that person is the goal, and not that that person feels bad about the thing. Let's take a look at Galatians chapter 6, verse 1. He says, brothers, if anyone is caught in any transgression, you who are spiritual should restore him in a spirit of gentleness. And then he adds the caveat, which I think is extremely important to keep watch on yourselves, lest you too be tempted. When you think of your own situations with anger, the question you ought to ask yourself is, when I go to have a confrontation, what is the reason why I'm doing this? Is this person genuinely in sin, or are they doing something that's just annoying to me? It's okay to be annoyed. You might be annoyed. The biggest problem we have when we get angry is sometimes we confuse things that God doesn't like with things that we don't like. You don't like a certain type of worship music. You prefer one thing over the other. Keep in mind, it might not necessarily be that God doesn't like the thing that you don't like. Remember, if God has all the same opinions that you do, there's a really good chance that you're not worshiping God. So think about the conversation and think about maybe this is a time for you to be honest. There's some principles that I keep in mind with these kinds of conversations. You keep it specific to an example, not a character. Hey, John, I noticed that you're a big, fat, rotten jerk. That's not a good way to start a conversation. Hey, John, I notice that when we talk, you're very unfriendly towards me. The way that I notice this is you say these mean things. You belittle me in front of people. It makes me feel a certain way. And I'm just trying to unpackage why this is happening. That conversation is a lot different than, hey, John, you're a jerk, right? So you have to be willing to set this up in a way where you are trying to get to the bottom of the problem. Secondly, you have to be very, very careful yourself to make sure that you are not putting an agenda on this because of something that you don't like that this person does that may not be a sin. Sometimes you might have a situation that you're dealing with and you're projecting your own situations, your own past hurts, your own pain on that person. Confrontation, if done in a biblical way, is done so worried about the other person, caring about the other person, focusing about that other person and their relationship to Jesus. If anger is happening as a result of something that's going on in a relationship, maybe it's the time for you to take that anger and use it as a motivator for you to have a conversation that brings both parties edifyingly to the throne of grace.